I am writing a paper on diversity issues for an English class. The first place I look for information is Georgia Southern's Galileo Library. I begin the research process by searching for scholarly or peer reviewed articles. I'll change the search term in order to find better information. The next place I look for information is the New York Times because is it a reliable source of information? I will save this source because the website is reliable and it has statistics supporting its research. I will save this source because it is an academic journal with many reliable and credible sources.
Okay, so for this paper I'm writing for English 1101, and it is a paper from about small business, the impact of social media on small businesses. So the first thing I would do is to go to Galileo on my college's website, and then I just go into Galileo. I also pull up a Word document just to keep notes sometimes, and just usually copy and paste my sources onto this when I find one. And I never really do the first search. I always go straight into advanced search whenever I search something. So since this is a paper about the impact of social media on small businesses, I usually just start with the basic keywords, just like small business, and then I usually just type in social media marketing or impact. And then after that, I usually look on the left to make sure they're all online full text only. And I also change the date to make sure that they're all current sources. So usually what I aim for is about 5 years back, but I'll make this one like 2013 or 20, make this one 2012. So that gets like a good 4 years. Okay, and then I start looking for anything that I see looks interesting. So no, that one doesn't have a link. Here's an academic journal, social networking in small businesses, an exploratory study. And right here I see that these are all, looks like students of a university. So it may not be too reliable, but it may still work. And usually what I do is I just skim it and I read the abstract just to see if it has any relevant, you know, if it's even relevant to my topic. Um, I probably won't save this source just because it just says that they're part of like a like University of North Georgia, Gordon State College, or Georgia Southern. It doesn't really give them any credentials, so I probably won't use this article right here. Here's another article: the value of social media for small businesses. Okay, note this. It looks good. It's American Accounting Association, so it seems very credible. And then companies, like I've said, I first read the abstract, look for to see the keywords are in it, make sure it's relevant, and it will be helpful to my paper and topic. So yeah, the abstract seems like it would definitely work for my paper. I usually go down to I usually other skim around, see what the different, like what the paper's broken up into, like the theories of social media usage, or protocol development and coding procedures, and it even provides studies and looks like some data and information. So that's what I'd like to see, just because I like to have statistics and other things in my paper. And it even includes a table with demographics, which is even better because I like to have a lot of statistics and just like a lot of numbers to sway people. Like if I'm trying to convince them that that my views are right, or if it's just a research paper, then I might not even include my views. So yeah, this paper looks good. What I usually do is sometimes I'll take a few quotes out of it, or I'll even look up the authors for more credibility. See if they've done any other more works on other than this like article. So I might like, let's say like Ludwig Christian job. I usually might like copy and paste to see the let's see. Yeah, then right here we find him. He's a professor at he's a professor at West Virginia. Has a PhD, so you can see all his credentials, and that's what I usually know that he's a credible source. And might look for other works, that he's done that could also be helpful, just because he's a credible source. So if he's a credible source, then I'll look for more sources that were written by him. So yeah, I would either to save this, I usually put it in a folder if I'm logged into my account, make sure it's saved for later. And usually right here it'll have like if I'm signed into my account, it'll all be listed right here, all the articles that I saved. But if that doesn't work, I usually just copy and paste the link onto a Word document. Okay. And then I also like to include the title just so if the link doesn't work, I like to I like to have a backup, and I usually like include the author's names just so I don't lose the article. Alright, I just copy the link location. No. just type it in. I usually stick to EBSCOhost like for my entire project just because I know it's easier to filter out results, and I usually don't trust Google articles. Or the only time I'll ever go to Google to look for is to look for just like general ideas, but I'll never look for articles or anything on Google. I usually just stick to Galileo or another database like EBSCOhost, I guess, which is the same thing. Um, so looking for another article, um, yeah, I'll look for any title that like looks like interesting. And it's usually easy with a topic like this. I usually just keep the same search terms unless I'm looking for maybe I might like put in social media like advertising or marketing and advertising are sort of the same thing. So here we got putting a face on for small businesses, the impact of social media on small business marketing. That looks good. So yeah, like again, I just read this abstract first. Right here it says it relates pretty much directly to my topic. And right here it even says the Academy of Marketing Studies Journal, which usually I find it as a good source just because it's on EBSCOhost and it's an online full article. So because it's an online journal, so usually I would say this is pretty credible, just because it's published and which means it usually means it's like been looked over for any mistakes for credibility. So I usually say this was a good article. So again, uh, I'd put that in my folder and also just copy the link just to make sure like I don't lose these articles. Another thing I sometimes do is click the button right here, which is cite, and to sometimes I find my citations right here, and they're usually almost uh, pretty much almost correct, and I only have to make maybe a few changes, like for MLA right here, and they also have APA, which is like the main two formats we use. And I usually just like sometimes copy and paste these citations right here, just because more than most of the time they're accurate. And I only have to make maybe I'll read over them and I'll double check on the hour at Purdue just to make sure in the right format, and usually they work. So like for that, I would just to show an example of, I would just click cite, and then if I'm doing a paper with APA format, I would just go to that and then just copy. And usually if I would copy on the link, but I'm just doing the thing right here. So and then I probably have to change all these to lowercase letters just because it doesn't like it doesn't look right if it's all like if it's in all caps. And mhm. So, yeah, and then I double space it, make sure it's in the right format for my annotated bibliography or citation page just to make sure. And I guess if I'm looking for maybe to like to make my articles different, I usually stick with small business just because that's what my main thing is about, and it's about social media. So I might put in social media advertising just to find some maybe some different sources with some different input. And so look, that's even an article from the last one. So it's basically the same topic, but advertising and marketing can be different things. So here we have an article that says how social media being used by small and medium enterprises. And it says at the top right here is the Journal of Business and Behavioral Sciences. So it usually like is a usually means in my head that it's a credible source because, like I said, it's been published and usually has been probably peer reviewed and made sure like taking care of any mistakes. And again, I just look for at the top like the main what the article is about. So reading through it, it seems a little confusing. May not be completely with my topic, but because with this thing it says that SMEs, well, I don't know what that is, so I may not include this in my paper just because. But if I find a fact or something that I like, then you know I can always take that out of it and put it in my paper. Um, See if we can find another one. You just want me to hit the okay.
I am writing a paper on diversity issues for an English class. The first place I look for information is Georgia Southern's Galileo Library. I begin the research process by searching for scholarly or peer reviewed articles. I'll change the search term in order to find better information. The next place I look for information is the New York Times because is it a reliable source of information? I will save this source because the website is reliable and it has statistics supporting its research. I will save this source because it is an academic journal with many reliable and credible sources. I am writing a paper on diversity issues for an English class. The first place I look for information is Georgia Southern's Galileo Library. I begin the research process by searching for scholarly or peer reviewed articles. I'll change the search term in order to find better information. The next place I look for information is the New York Times because is it a reliable source of information? I will save this source because the website is reliable and it has statistics supporting its research. I will save this source because it is an academic journal with many reliable and credible sources.
I'm writing a paper on global health in Liberia for my class of FYE. First, I'm gonna open up Word, Microsoft Word. Then I'm gonna open up Internet Explorer. The first place I'm gonna look for information at is Google Scholars because their information needs to be credible. So I'm gonna search Liberia. The history of Liberia just to get a little bit of information about the history. I'm gonna scroll through. Well, I'm finna filter out the ones that are too old because information changes. Now I'm just trying to find something that's relevant to the history. Everything seems to talk about Ebola. That is I guess, a good place to start because that's part of the health of Liberia. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna open up a new tab to change my search terms because I wasn't finding what I was looking for. So I'm just gonna look up the regular history. Well, not the regular history. The health of Liberia. I'm using the World Health Organization because their information is credible. I would take all these statistics and compile them into an essay, well, a paragraph into my essay or research paper. Another major part of the paper is women's health as it's separate as a separate topic. So I'm gonna search that. Just to get specific information. I was told to stay away from .org because sometimes they can be trying to sell you things. I'm gonna go back to the Google Scholar and look up women's health. When doing research, especially on very specific topics, a lot of times they are not found in Google Scholar, so you have to revert back to regular Google or Yahoo. These seems like some good articles, so I will open it, um, read it, especially if it's a .org. Make sure it's not trying to sell anything, um, or make you join an organization. Um, After I have read it, I would summarize it, or maybe use a quote from it, then go back into other sites that were found when I looked it up and read those also. This looks like a good source, so I would copy and paste the website into my Word document to come back to later, and write a brief description under it. More or less do an annotated bibliography, an annotated source, I guess. And when annotating the site, I would also add, I write the description of it. Well, first I would put this into the citation machine. That's the one I use, or EasyBib. I would choose the APA format because that's the way paper is supposed to be written. No, I don't want that. I guess I won't use EasyBib. I'm gonna choose APA format again because that's the way we have to write our paper. I'm gonna choose website because it's not a journal. It's more of a website article.